often in cycling, we talk about performance, weight, stiffness, and speed. And when we're not talking about performance, we're talking about practicality instead. Anything that doesn't directly contribute to one or the other is considered indulgent, perhaps even a waste. But why? What happens if you make something absolutely amazing just for the sake of it? Something with both function and form at its core. Something like this, or something like this. The latest and greatest Colnago, a bike that will surprise you. Colnago have drawn on all of their resources to make one of the most exclusive, beautiful, and expensive bikes that I've ever had the pleasure of riding. Every aspect of this frame is made in Italy, and I am going to travel round the country to see how. But I'm also going to spend some time at Colnago to understand why. I want to look at the bikes that have paved the way for them to become the brand they are today and speak to the people responsible for bringing this unexpected bike to life. Because the first and most important thing you need to know about this bike is that it's made from steel. That's right, Colnago's latest and greatest bike is using the most traditional and humble material of them all. This is the Steelnovo. Sit back and enjoy, because we are going right back to the very start. Cambiago has long been the hometown of Colnago, and my journey starts here, in the north of Italy, at their headquarters. Inside, ideas are brought to life, concepts are refined, frames crafted, painted, assembled and shipped to customers. There's also an incredible archive of Colnago history, not just images and designs, but actual complete bikes. Alessandro is one of the people here at Colnago who have worked to bring this collection together, and his knowledge is second to none. Oh boy, look at this. This is amazing.
Welcome to the Colnago Museum.
How many bikes we got here?
I think more than, for sure, 100. I think around 130.
It's mind-blowing, this collection. Like, the colours everywhere is the first thing that stands out. Amazing. I mean, everywhere that I look, I can see a special bike, but some of these have got a standout part in history, certainly leading the way to the Steelnovo. So if we had to pick out some of the most iconic ones and take this back to the start, where would we go?
The start is over there, where we have the steel collection.
Yeah.
And we can see the Super. The Super is important for us because it's the first step for Colnago developing a new racing geometry built around the needs of the champions.
At this point, Colnago were working with a rider who would go on to be considered the greatest of all time.
Mexico is important because it's a bicycle, it's a frame developed together with Eddy Merckx in the searching of the hour record in Mexico City. The Eddy Merckx bicycle used on the track of Mexico City was weighing around 5.7 kilos. We are talking about a bicycle built in 1972.
So from 72,
yeah,
we progressed along to what I think is one of those most iconic bikes for lots of people in the range, which is the Master, right?
Yeah, the Master is very important because it's a true icon for Colnago. The tube, you can see in the section the shade of the...
This iconic logo,
yeah,
on the head tube.
Yeah, we did a lot of Masters. For example, that's the Master Pew with a beautiful Campagnolo Super Record, gold-plated 35th anniversary of Colnago. The Plus was the internal cable route in the horizontal tube.
Following the Master Series came the rise of other materials for frame construction. You had aluminium, carbon, and titanium. So why have Colnago gone back to their roots? The reason why the Steelnovo exists is to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the company. It celebrates everything Colnago has been, is currently, and perhaps will continue to be in the future. It's also a marriage of cutting-edge technology and traditional craftsmanship, two conflicting worlds that very rarely come together. But when they do, and the balance is just right, you have the opportunity to create something very special. What makes this one special is that it uses the latest 3D printing technology and traditional steel tubes, and then the two of those are joined together by hand right here in the heart of Italy. The brains behind this design is Davide, someone who has spent the last 15 years developing all of Colnago's latest bikes. So what was his inspiration for the Steelnovo?
Well, as you know, a long part of the Colnago history has been made on steel bikes since 1954 till the beginning of 2000. We still have one steel frames in our catalog, but we wanted to make something more modern. We wanted to explore again the metal side of things, but trying to bring in a more modern way and try to use the new technologies.
So why steel and not carbon fiber?
Why carbon fiber and not steel? I think that the steel has its own kind of characteristic, which is completely different than carbon fiber. Of course, carbon fiber, we all know the benefit of the materials, but steel has a lot more to offer, and we wanted to explore this world because we think that with the modern technologies we can offer something a bit different. Columbus has been a very good partner of Colnago for many, many years. The original tubes for the Master and most of the Colnago steel bikes in the past were made by Columbus. And accidentally, Columbus is also 10 minutes far from here, so it's very nice to work very close with a partner. And it's one, if not the best, supplier in the world for tubes. So it was a really the go-to option for us. And thanks to being so close and so passionate, it was very good to work with them because we were able to make a lot of custom parts for us, a lot of custom tubes to fine-tune the sections, to fine-tune the thickness of the tubes. So basically, every single tube in this bike is custom made for us.
Having heard about the bike, now is the time to start my journey to see every aspect come to life. It's just a short drive from Colnago to Columbus, a company that first started in 1919 after the Great War, when there was a huge demand for bicycles. Initially trading under the brand name Colombo, before starting Columbus in 1977 as a dedicated bicycle tubing manufacturer.
This is the starting of the process, the storage of our raw material tubes. As you can see, there are different diameters and different kind of steels and titanium now. So the process starts from here, and according to what we have to produce, the operator knows exactly which diameter and material he has to take and how much material he has to use for the production of that specific batch of tubes. So the next step is in this area here. You see here we have a scale, and according to the weight of the final tube that we have to produce, the operator must cut the raw material tube at a proper length, which has the same weight of the finished tube weight.
Okay.
So this could be an example of the piece which is cut with this machine. This piece specifically has been also treated chemically. You see this gray surface here is a sort of soap that we use as a sort of lubricant. The batting process, the drawing, gives a lot of stress to the tube, a lot of friction, because if the film of soap breaks during the batting process, the tube will break. So what we see here is actually the cold deformation of this tube to reach the final dimension with a proper diameter and the proper thickness. Now it's very hot, the tube, so you can imagine how much force, how much pressure you need to deformate this high tense steel, which has high mechanical characteristics. Sometimes during these processes, when you apply a lot of pressure, in the end, this deformation that we give to the material can bend the tube slightly, and this is not good for a frame welding. We can do it with this machine, but more quickly with this super flat plane.
Yeah.
This is a perfectly straight flat plane, and the operator runs the tube. You see?
You can see the light.
The light.
Yeah.
You see the light, and when he checked the tubes, the Columbus tubes are checked 100%. All the tubes that we produce goes through this area for this kind of check, and then with this machine properly fixed, the operator with a lot of strength, not me of course, can straighten the tube and check again.
Over the years, Colnago and Columbus have collaborated on numerous projects, many of which led to a specific blend of steel tubing being developed, and this remains the case for the Steelnovo.
When you design tubes for a frame, you have to take into consideration two factors. One is the needs of the welder. So we have a steel that first must be weldable, that must have high mechanical characteristics, elements like, for example, vanadium or niobium, which maintain the grain of the steel small during the welding, so that you don't have a too big decrease of mechanical characteristics in the welding area. We made some tests, we do some hardness tests, even in the welding area. We create joints that we cut, and we study also the grain and the material characteristics after the welding.
The relationship between Colnago and Columbus goes right back through history, but it's not just steel that they've worked together on. This is an aluminium tube. It's using the Altec tubing technology, and you can see the shaping here. This is from the Colnago Dream in the early 2000s, and the tubing profile and shaping is to try to mimic that of Colnago's head tube logo. The design and the shaping is similar to what was used on the steel Technos frame back in the late 1990s as well. It's absolutely fascinating to see all of the dies that they've got here through the historical bikes that go right back through time.
So this is the Colnago seat stay, 14 millimeter by 0.7 millimeters, already tapered. And what we do here is the shaping of the tube.
Oh, wow.
You see?
So it's gone from round, so we hold these together.
From round, we have this kind of oval. Now let's go to see the 8 tubes of the Colnago frame.
Wow.
We have a...
Let me try and guess some of them. I think it's fairly...
try. Try to guess.
Some of them are obvious. Head tube, down tube.
Yes.
But I can't decide which is the seat tube or the top tube.
So this is the seat tube, and this is the top tube.
Ah, because the shaping.
Yeah, because they decided to have this kind of shape in order to have to increase the stiffness in the head tube area. This is a special shape that we studied together with the Colnago engineers. So let's put the tubes in the box that we will give to the frame builder.
Yeah.
Which is in the box.
Perfect.
Ready.
This is going to be good. Well, thanks so much for
Thank you very
spending
much.
the time to speak to us.
Have fun.
That's it. See you later. So these are the tubes that I need for the Steelnovo. Next part of the process is I need to head to Modena, to the 3D printers, to not only find out how they're 3D printing the lugs using this frame, but also pick up the ones that I need. In fact, the company that I'm visiting also 3D prints parts for Ferraris. Combining traditional tubing and 3D printed lugs might seem like an odd choice, but the inspiration came from a simple mistake.
Working on the C68 project, we decided to use titanium 3D printing there to make the lugs. And accidentally, one of the suppliers that were printing the lugs for us made us one lug with stainless steel. And that was the clicking factor for us to say, why not?
Next, my journey takes me 175 kilometers southeast to Modena, the hometown of Additiva. Alessandro is going to walk me through the process so I can leave here with the parts that I need. So Alessandro, this place looks absolutely amazing. The first step of the process starts in the office with the computer design. Each individual component is designed by Colnago and sent here, where it's analysed to work out where to place the build supports for the printing process, and as many sections as possible are fitted onto the print bed for efficiency. So this is all of the parts that you can fit into one platform?
Yeah.
Look how close they are.
So you can see here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 bicycle.
So to the machine next, is it?
Yeah.
So this is the design what we were just looking at.
Yeah.
So this machine has been working overnight, is that correct?
Yeah.
And how long would it take for all these parts to be made?
This takes around 15 hours.
Whoa. The way the machine works might seem very complicated, but it's actually fairly simple. A fine steel powder is melted by a laser to create a 2D outline on the round build plate. After each 2D outline, a fresh layer of steel powder is added to the build plate.
Layer by layer, a lot of 2D drawing becomes a 3D part.
Okay, so this is out of the machine. What's the next step?
We go to the ADM machine so we can cut the parts from the build platform.
So this is the EDM machine, but how does it work?
You can see there is a very thin wire, a low voltage current, but the ampere is very high, and it cuts the part with a very, very high level of precision.
Once each component is free from the build plate, it needs post-processing by hand to remove the support structures and smooth the surface finish before heading to the 3D scanner to check the accuracy compared to the initial computer design. The scanner works by taking multiple images of the printed piece and combining them together to make a 3D model, which can be compared to the specifications and design sent by Colnago. Any differences can be seen and measured when they're overlaid on the computer. So how accurate is this machine?
The accuracy of this machine is 0.004 millimeters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it looks good to go to me. So this is our final piece of the puzzle here.
Yeah.
This is ready to go into the box with the other parts, and then that means I've got everything for a full frame. Perfect.
So.
Thanks, man. Well, thanks very much for showing me around. It's been a pleasure, all right? See you later.
Thank you.
As impressive as this technology is, the parts inside here don't add up to a complete bite just yet. Frame building comes next, something which takes many years to learn and some people would say a lifetime to master. One person builds all the frames and they happen to be just a few minutes drive from Additiva here in Modena. I'm told each bike takes an entire day to build, and the process starts with cutting the tubes to the correct length before mitering and shaping each end to fit seamlessly together. Brazing is used for the majority of the tube and lug intersections, and the bottom bracket junctions are TIG welded. But what is particularly interesting is the choice of fork for this bike.
At the beginning, when we started this project, we wanted to have a full metal bike, so with the same steel fork, steel seat post, something completely made out of metal. And we started developing our own fork with a 3D printed head, 3D printed dropouts. But then you know that Colnago is very strict on testing and the safety of the products, and even using the best materials possible and working very hard and very close with Columbus. They supported us a lot on this project. We weren't having the performance we wanted to have. And so we decided to move away from the full steel fork and going into the full carbon fork, which is a product that we know very, very well because it's what we made on all the other bikes we have.
In its raw, unpainted state, this frame looks stunning, and I'm surprised at how light it is too. Just 1.85 kilograms, which is dramatically lighter than a typical high-end steel frame. But for this to be a truly classic Colnago and really bring it to life, it needs painting. And this happens a few hours drive south in Pisa. I'm hoping by now you've noticed I'm not driving your typical car. This is a Ferrari Roma, and it's a nod to past collaborations between the two companies, and it highlights the luxury and exclusivity element of the Steelnovo. You see, Ferrari and Colnago have worked on numerous projects in the past, the most iconic of those being the CF1.
With the CF1, I think the most important thing is to see the Colnago brand associated to the Ferrari brand. That was important because with that bicycle you can see the attention and the quality of the details. For example, the stamp painted with the logo, the red sprayed on the wheels, the saddle with the logo. So that attention of details that has characterized Colnago over the years, from the 90s to today.
You see, the Colnago name has always been synonymous with performance through innumerable race victories that go right back from the greatest of all time to today, and the new greatest of all time. But along the way, beauty has been of paramount importance. When all bikes were steel, Colnago realised they could stand out through incredible paintwork. Indulgent? No. Class? Yes. Like all bikes, the paint is what really brings this bike to life. There's just one option for the Steelnovo, and much like the bike, it's classy and understated. The metallic silver base with copper details and logos looks stunning, and the final step of the process is applying clear coat to give the frame its deep shine. From Pisa, my journey takes me full circle back to Colnago's HQ in Cambiago, where I arrived with a freshly painted frame. The Steelnovo is available in an initial run of just 70 bikes, and they will be assembled with an all-star cast of Italian brands, many of which still manufacture in Italy as well, but at the very least are Italian-based companies. Pirelli tyres are just down the road. Campagnolo are just down the road. In fact, so special is this bike that Colnago have continued the tradition of getting a limited edition group set made especially for it. Every little detail on the bike has been thought about, right down to each individual bolt, which is specifically made by Italian brand Carbon Tie. Having gone through this process start to finish and understanding how and why this bike is made, I want to know how Davide wanted people to feel when they're riding the Steelnovo.
It's not a pure performance bike, so it's not a bike designed to be the fastest, to be the Tadej Pogacar bike, for example. It's a bike for the pure joy of ride. That's how we call in Italian, il piacere di andare in bicicletta.
But how does this bike make me feel? Well, I have an overwhelming sense of excitement and nervousness. You see, Davide has told me that I'm the first person in the entire world outside of Colnago to have ever had the pleasure of riding one of these bikes. And this exact one is the second ever full production version. It reminds me of that feeling you have as a kid at Christmas or a birthday. You know that this is something very special, and rightly so. I feel like performance, weight, stiffness and speed have almost paled into insignificance. And it's not to say that these characteristics aren't here, because they very much are. It's just that so often we overanalyze everything and overlook one of the most important factors of all, and that is that you enjoy riding it and it makes you want to come back for even more. To sit here with this bike, having seen it come to life, is something very special, and rightly so. This bike propels cycling into the luxury market like perhaps no bike before. It's a bike that will never win the Tour de France. Many will never even be raced. Most will be snapped up by collectors. Is that a problem? No, because this bike, just like the Ferrari, can be appreciated by everyone, whether you own one or not. This is a bike I will never be able to afford, much like the Ferrari. And whether you drive an estate car or a family car, it's okay to appreciate the fact that something with a higher purpose also exists. This is a bike for the ages. In a world filled with carbon fibre from moulds, this is a breath of fresh air, and I feel incredibly honoured to have been able to show it to the world.